2021 Toyota Sienna Hybrid with bunch of lights and no codes. Good day viewers, and welcome back to Dallas Auto Diag. This is my second visit to the vehicle. First time I was called to take a look at this vehicle that has a bunch of lights on the dashboard. When I scanned the vehicle at that time, I have a saved report for you. When I scanned the vehicle, right here, it's the same VIN 8169, we'll see in a minute. There was only one code in the electric motor power steering. One code only, which is U023A8. Sorry, U023A. 87 is the subcode. It says lost communication with image processing module, a missing message. That was the only code in the power steering, and of course this code will trigger all these lights. So you delete the code, it will come back. Next step, what I did, I got hold of the camera and I tested the powers and grounds and the can high and can low. Everything seemed to be correct, good, when I plug it, when it's plugged and unplugged. Now if you come to the code, everything was done the other day. When you read about it, it says lost communication with image processing module, a missing message. A power steering with motor assembly receives signal from the steering sensor. Skid control module, the ABS, forward recognition camera with forward recognition camera, and hybrid vehicle control module via CAN communication. There's 3 codes. Actually, this description on this page is for 3 codes, but we're interested in this one only. Lost communication, this is the description. Lost communication with forward recognition camera. CAN communication system, this is the trouble area and warning indicators. CAN communication area, forward recognition camera. EPS warning light do not come on, does not come on. EMPS, this is output from, and priority return normal condition after, and this is note with forward recognition camera. Okay, so basically you just check the module. Now what I didn't call a module, by the way. What made me not call the module, I wanted to go to the electronic power steering also and check to see if it was acting correctly. So what I did, just like now, we have a full scan. Now you're gonna ask me where's the code. I'll tell you in a minute, just be patient with me. Now we're gonna go to the electronic power steering. This is what I did. I went to the electronic power steering. I wanted to see which one is acting up. Is it the electronic power steering or the camera? So basically right now, nothing you can test. All you have to do is see which one is faulty. Is the camera sending a message and the module is not reading it, or the module or the camera is not sending a message? That's the whole thing. So I went to the steering, electronic power steering, and I saw something I didn't like. I went to live data. The first thing that I wanted to check is the steering angle sensor. Steering angle, it reads 30-70.5 degrees. Now when you move the steering, it does change. It goes down this way to the right and it goes up the other way. Okay, and it stops at the 370 even when you move. This is the limit of the data pit, 30-70. I didn't like that number, so before making any judgment, I went to the owner of the lot and I asked him to give me more information about the vehicle. I did ask him in the beginning. He didn't mention what I'm about to mention to you. And the second time that I asked him, he said, oh yeah, we replaced the electronic power steering. I was like, and now you're telling me about it? So tell me more. By the way, the history of the vehicle, it's flood, but it doesn't, there was no signs of severe flood. Nothing was inside the vehicle. So I told him, tell me more about it. He said the either the inner or the outer tie rod was bent, and every place they call, they say they don't sell it. They don't sell just the tie rod. So they decided to buy the whole electronic power steering. And I don't know, for some reason, I haven't looked at it, but it was easier for them to replace the whole electronic power steering than just the tie rod. They put it in, they fire, you know, the steering is smooth, it's just these lights. So what I suggest is to do is to take the junkyard steering out, take the tie rod from it, put it in the original one, and plug in the original one. And that's what they did. They did that, and they called me. They said the code is gone, but now they still have the lights. So I come and I look at my data, and in this situation, what would you do? Your friend is history of the vehicle. You have to investigate every piece of information, extract it from the owner of the vehicle. And the second thing is live data. You have to, like you see, none of the modules has any codes in it. So your best bet is to think of it logically. So we have a pre-collision collision warning systems on, and messages, by the way. Pre-collision system malfunction. So the best bet is to go to the ones that says ADAS plus the ABS and the electronic power steering. The ABS and the electronic power steering. It doesn't hurt to look at the engine and the transmission, by the way, but I would leave them to the last. I would look at these, the ones that say ADAS first. I go to live data and I start reading carefully, see if there's anything here that would trigger those codes. Now, just to make this video as short as possible, I looked at those and I didn't see anything. Probably a data pit here says calibration not completed, and probably there is no code for it because the car hasn't been driven enough. You will do not assume, you will always not know how that software in that module or those modules, protocols or agreements between them is written. So if there is no code, that doesn't mean there is no code. Technically, I should have told the owner of the lot to drive it, just because they called me yesterday for a Honda Civic that needed a PCM, which, by the way, failed, and I'm going to put the video on the channel. So if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to look at all these cases. It has a weird failure. It's interesting. Anyways, so back to this. I should have told them to drive it this morning before I stop, to see if we can trigger any code. But my point is, there is no code doesn't mean anything. It could be it did not meet all the criteria for the code to be triggered. That's what it is. So if you're here, you're stuck with the car, your best thing to do after asking questions is to look at the live data, see if there's anything that you would think would trigger those codes or this situation. To me, just because I know the history of the vehicle, I mean a little bit about the first visit, so I went to the electronic power steering. In addition, I looked at all these as ADAS, but I went to the electronic power steering and I looked at the live data, and as I showed you, it shows a steering angle. Ironically, that was the same value from before. What I'm gonna do next, I asked the lot owner to see if they want me to do it or they do it. Most probably I want them to do it. We're gonna lift up the car, disconnect the steering wheel, and before that I'm gonna locate the steering angle sensor, which I think it's a part of the electronic power steering. we're gonna locate it and see if it's a part of the steering angle sensor, a part of the electronic power steering. If it is, what we're gonna do, we're gonna disconnect the steering column from the rack and pinion, and while looking at the live data, manually rotate the shaft for the electronic power steering and see if that's gonna fix it, if we can get this to 0. I have done it in other vehicles, and I have done it also when the electronic power steering, the steering angle sensor is a part of the steering column control module. I've done it on a Chevy, I think it was a Silverado. It was a pickup truck, but the steering angle sensor was mounted alone here, a part of the steering column. So what we did, we disconnected the rack and pinion, and I kept rotating. I think it was only 2 rotations off. I rotated the steering until this became 0, and then we hooked up again. The lights and the codes are gone. Hopefully this is gonna fix it. I don't know if it fails or if it fails or if it succeeded. I'm gonna leave it on the video regardless, just in case somebody has this question, because the angle sensor still interact with the movement. See it? It stopped. It still interacts. So I think it's a matter of somebody, or probably because of the flood, because of the water. We'll never know. But the weird thing is, this value, this was the same exact with the junkyard module and the original module. I wanted to look at the location of the steering angle sensor, and now I think things are making sense. The steering angle sensor is usually in all Toyotas is not a part of the electronic power steering. It is behind the airbag module right here, and that makes sense why this value didn't change between the old rack and pinion and the new rack and pinion. And it could be when they changed the junkyard rack and pinion, somebody would unintentionally twisted the steering a couple of times before installing the rack and pinion. Now what we're gonna have to do is 2 options: either disconnect from the bottom or disconnect from the top. I think from the top would be easier, and again, rotating it by hand to make this 0 while the wheels straight. We have to put the wheels straight before doing so. One thing I forgot to mention, which the service information just reminded me. Here says, when removing installation, placement of steering angle sensors, some procedures has to be done. One of them is the calibration, and I did the calibration. It didn't work. So since the steering angle sensor is not a part of the electronic power steering, it doesn't make sense for me to do it again, because it failed. And I think it failed because that value is 2031 or 2070 or 3000. I think 3070. I think that's why it failed, because it's too much away. It's not like 50 degree or 100 degree off. We're gonna try it manually. So to remove the steering wheel, there are 2 covers from each side, 1 right here and 2 on the other side right here. Okay, those covers, and you bring something like this, like a long and thin screwdriver. I use this tool, and you see this spring right here, this one, and those 2. So basically on the side you push like this up and it will pop. Same thing on the other side right here, this one, and on the top you're gonna have to rotate the steering to look at it right there. So you're gonna push it to the inside like this. So the bottom ones to the top push up and those push in. Okay, and that will, let me show you, switch hands. So right here, see it? So once you push, that will release the airbag, the driver's side airbag pad, and then you remove this big nut and you disconnect this little one, these two for the airbag. Make sure your battery is off, disconnected. Before removing these, you disconnect them. You disconnect this for the steering controls, and you pop it out. Now whatever you're doing, I'm not sure what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, make sure your steering wheels are straight ahead before you do that. To remove the cover, 3 Phillips screws, 1, 2, and 1 in the bottom right here. Now we have access to the controls, the spiral, which is the clock spring, and we're looking for our guy, the steering angle sensor. We have to remove this. To remove the clock spring, you have this tab. You lift it up from the back and push out. Once you push out, you'll be able to, with a small force, to pop the sides out. Nothing hold it, just this tab right here. Now the steering angle sensor turn, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that holds it. Again, I use this pick to just push a little bit gently, not a lot. You can use a screwdriver, thin screwdriver, better, but gently push to the outside and pop it while you doing it. This is the steering angle sensor. Now we're gonna do whatever we have to do to it to make it 0. Okay, let's see if that value is gonna change. If we can 0 this steering angle sensor, we're gonna rotate it to the right. It's going down. This is what I'm doing. It stopped at 2028. It stopped. Doesn't want to take. If I go backwards, yeah, it started moving again. Let me go all the way to the end, see where it stops. 3070, that's where it's gonna stop. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep going and see what's gonna happen. This vehicle is going to need the steering angle sensor. Unfortunately, I mean, I tried to save it because I know these units are expensive. So it's always good when you can save a customer the spending, especially when it's something as simple as doing this. But unfortunately, no. The steering angle sensor need a replacement. Almost every Toyota I work on, steering angle sensor needs replacement after either a collision or all of them, collision, all of them, just like the airbag module. Steering angle sensor need replacement. Yeah, this steering angle sensor is malfunctioning. We need replacement. Oy oy oy.
With